Okay, let's do this. Okay. Hey guys, this is David with the Bridge Broadcast. I've got a good friend here. This is Mike Song with Westside High School Lacrosse and in Nation United, the director of Nation United Texas. So, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, David, for inviting me.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Indeed.
Mike, before we jump into everything, we were talking just a second ago about the end of the spring season and everything like that. I know you kind of went through a little bit, but just kind of overall how the season ended and then how everything's going, kicking off with Nation United for all the summer stuff.
Our high school team at Westside, we got moved up a division. And so while we had played what I believe higher competition, um,
Was that Class C or Class B?
Class C,
Class
we
C.
got moved to Class C. While we didn't get, many wins, all our game differentials were within 3 goals.
Yeah.
And I was really, really happy with how our team had developed and fought to at least be competitive, which they could have totally gone the other way, and shut down and given up, which is easy for, as you may know, teenagers can really need to be encouraged to these challenges. And our team did great. And I think even though that we didn't get a lot of wins, the fact that we were very competitive was motivating for our program. And I think a lot of guys were getting more interest. What I mentioned to you earlier was there's also, you know, we had two seniors this past year, one of whom got offered an opportunity to go to Westcliff University in Irvine, California, and he earned enough of a package so that he could afford to go to college and go to California. And he's going to be a computer programming major, and he wants to go into video games, which California is the perfect environment for
Right.
that. And that's another thing that we talked about is he got recruited by several different schools throughout the country. And his goal was get into video games. And one piece of advice was, part of, if you know what type of career pathway you want to go, you might want to be in the right place for that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. The geography helps a little bit.
Exactly. So, you're probably going to get a lot of internship opportunities and just knowledge of the oil and energy industry in Houston,
Yeah.
right? So
Did
that
he
was,
get? Oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt. Did he get some athletic money then too to kind of
yeah.
round it
So
out?
I can't go into details, but the school has an athletic budget,
Nice.
and you know what I love about NAIA schools is they want to give education.
Hmm.
Right? They'll try to make it work. And this particular school, in talking with the coach, it seems like sports is a priority. It's any school's best marketing tool, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
So they have a long-term vision of going to Division 2, and this is their going to be their first. Last year was supposed to be their first season,
Oh, okay.
but COVID and everything, and so they retain those recruits. They are, or many of them, and they are going into this year as a development year to start then recruiting to go on to Division 2. So now you were talking about benefits and money offered. So yes, he did get scholarship money. Of course, also you can benefit from FAFSA assistance or other things. Now, what was really great, because this school wanted to drive this ball, is they offered a lot of other benefits to the lacrosse players being recruited. For
Nice.
example, locked in tuition. So their first year tuition, which was already discounted because they're launching all these things that year, they're locked into that tuition rate for their entire 4 years.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I mean, that's huge,
Yeah.
right? There are other, promotions and discounts that they, would normally be one-time things,
Hmm.
but they're going to get it for their next 4 years. So put it all together, it was an extremely attractive deal.
Yeah, that's great. Good for
Um,
him.
yeah, and what I had mentioned earlier was he's also a football player,
Right.
and because of that and the players that he knows, I think it's generating buzz with those players. And Westside High School is 80% minority. We face a challenge of what I would say cultural disinterest in lacrosse, or lack of high interest, because you know um, these kids in Texas mostly have been growing up in football, baseball, and basketball, right? And lacrosse may not be the coolest sport out there, but you can't deny the opportunities. And then once you start playing, it's a great, fun sport that's a cross section of all those sports that they've been growing up
Yeah,
with. So
absolutely.
it just makes sense, for a lot of these athletes. And so I believe that image, or I've called it before, a brand image of lacrosse. We do things like this and it will start changing that brand image,
Yeah.
and start attracting newer players
Yeah.
that may not have been interested in before.
What are some of the tools that you have or that you use, little things that you do when you're recruiting, kids who don't typically, look like the standard lacrosse player? What are some of those things that you're doing in the, to get these kids into the program?
First and foremost, it's all your typical media tools, social media, video. It's interesting, but quite frankly, all the lacrosse propaganda, it's primarily Caucasian,
Yeah.
right? So if all the advertising looks like that, then you're going to continually believe that's who the sport is for, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Or it's not for you even.
Hmm.
And so one of the first things I did here was, hey, I don't care if we only have 2 or 3 black players, right? Let's start. They call it media bias, but it's kind of something that we needed to do. Was, hey, let's start getting video. Let's start taking pictures. On our flyers and posters and our banners. Let's make it look diverse,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Players that are featured, let's make it
Yeah.
look that way. Even if it's a little staged, right? I get phone calls and messages from other programs in Houston, especially youth programs, from parents saying, "Hey, how can we make ourselves look more diverse?"
Oh, goodness.
It's really hard when our practice, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Why don't we start? I'm going to start making promotional videos that anyone can use. All
Hmm.
right, we'll use it for just general lacrosse, youth lacrosse in Houston. So that's one of the approaches.
Yeah, definitely. We talk a lot about representation and how we pitch to, schools or kids. And it helps that we bring our kids who look like the kids in that particular school or community center. It helps quite a bit, and we've got great volunteers from outside of our community who are white and we love them. It helps to have kids who, look like the kids that we're trying to recruit.
In in synergy with that effort, has been the Nation United effort. One thing that's very important is to, and very much with what Bridge just accomplished with the state championships, is we want to model success in the sport. And quite frankly, one of the things that I experienced at Westside in the first couple of years was, it's very challenging emotionally for kids to lose, right?
Hmm.
Now, if you're also losing by a lot, right, to schools that are out of your socioeconomic, what you're used to,
Yeah.
or where you come from, and then it becomes even more demoralizing. And so, how do we show? And it looks like you have to be Caucasian to be good at lacrosse is
Yeah.
what it comes down to, right? And so how do we flip that script? Well, Nation United is very much the answer for that by having an elite level team of all Black and brown players. Well, now I get that footage and video and images and pictures, and now we have we have ammo, and now I can use that as a carrot at the end of the stick and say, hey, look, you can be a great lacrosse player, right? You can play at high levels. You can be a Nakai Montgomery, right? And so that helps a whole lot too.
Certainly.
So kind of put those efforts together, then you get a little bit of buzz. Am I getting 1,000 inquiries a day? No, but am I getting a handful to a dozen more every month? Absolutely. And every inquiry, everyone interested, every new player, it's you build.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes time, and it helps to have those examples to kind of chip away at the numbers that you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you said, winning a state championship, it helps, right? And people want to be part of something successful, right? And so that's, like I keep saying, at the end of the day, we're in sports. Winning is very important,
For sure,
because it helps.
And we've been trying to figure out how to, with some new success on the field, we're trying to figure out how to incorporate that into our success around our culture. And then that, for the most part, that's what's helped us grow and maintain, and retain kids, and, pull new kids in as that culture. But so we have this sort of new variable in winning, and how can that also be a part of, intertwined in our culture that traditionally has just been about fun, getting kids engaged, providing some new opportunities, relationships, enrichment, some academic resources, things like that. And now you have this new sort of thing around winning that you're like, okay, how does this fit into our culture that doesn't sort of overtake the culture where we just focus on winning? We have not been a winning program, by and large. And, we talk a lot about how, in lieu of the outcome of a game, what are the little wins that we can take? Like you were saying earlier with your team this year, like what are the little things we can kind of, look back and say that was a successful season?
Right, because you do not want to deny your mission.
Yeah.
And what you're there for. We're experiencing. I'm experiencing a lot of that as well between Nation United, West Houston Lacrosse, and then everything else I'm seeing across Texas. Texas is not Maryland, right?
Right.
So therefore, not everyone is competing for elite level lacrosse.
Yeah.
All right, that's a fact. There will be a lot of Black and brown players who may not be quite there, who we still want to give a positive experience and continue to help them develop and grow. So I get exactly what you're saying. Is what's the intersection there?
Yeah, exactly. How do you balance it out?
Yep. And I think that's something we're both going through and trying to we navigate as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and for years and years and years, it was, let's just focus on the individual skill, being a good teammate, building those healthy relationships with coaches and peers. And then over time, you start to see some success on the field and find a way to incorporate that in, how you coach your team. And it doesn't change what you ultimately want. It's just kind of a nice, bonus luxury on top of everything else, our coaches do with our kids. So yeah, but ultimately, like, I love winning, and, I'm competitive, just like, most lacrosse players out there, and winning some championships feels great. And, there's certainly no shame in that at all. I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. I didn't give you a chance. What's your background? What is your, how did you get to Houston? What is your playing career? Let's go back a little bit.
Yeah. So Coach Song, Mike Song, I grew up in Virginia. I've been playing since third grade. Was fortunate enough to get exposed to a lot of great lacrosse growing up. During that time, there weren't so many travel teams, and there weren't really any like that at the time. We had a lot of camps, so I was fortunate enough to go to all the Virginia, Carolina, Hopkins camps. That's how you would get recruited
Hmm.
back then. I ended up going to Lehigh University, where I ended up playing for the club team for 4 years, and we went to two national championship semifinals.
Nice.
Then I got invited to play for the Korean national team. Went from there, went to Korea in 2002, trained, and then we competed in the World Cup in 2002 in Perth, Australia.
Nice.
That's where I thought lacrosse was going to be my culmination of my lacrosse career. And I then went into advertising and marketing. But then I got called back to coaching. I was in Los Angeles and started doing youth there. Then I got asked to coach the Miracosta High School in Manhattan Beach there, and that went very well. Really good group of kids there. And then I got asked to head the program at Long Beach Poly High School. So Long Beach Polytechnic High School is the flagship school in Long Beach. They wanted to start a program. They're traditionally known, well, they've been called one of the top 10 sports schools in the country by ESPN. They're very well known for their football program, which is, one of the top in the country.
Yeah.
Long Beach Poly is 87% minority. And I was asked to come there because they wanted to start a lacrosse program. They wanted to also have it to be a diverse and inclusive lacrosse program, which, again, for whatever reason, and the organic growth of lacrosse in Southern California and everywhere has geared towards, Caucasian communities,
Hmm.
mostly wealthier communities, for many reasons, right? I mean, and it's also easy, right? If you're out of college and you're living in Southern California and you're trying to make some money, hey, it's easy to do lessons and start a club
Yeah.
in West LA, right? Or Santa Monica, right?
Yeah.
So the teams have not been very diverse. So Long Beach Poly wanted to start a program. Their athletic program wanted to provide a good sport for players who, you might be a third or fourth string defensive back, and you might be 5'7" or 5'8". You might be a great student athlete, but you might not be getting a scholarship to USC for football. And what opportunities are out there for great kids like that? And so that was the goal when I got brought into Long Beach Poly. I started that program. We built it from started out as a club program and then graduated it into a CIF program, which is their interscholastic school-based federation, if you will.
Okay.
It's the equivalent of UIL.
Gotcha. Yeah. Their governing body, essentially.
Yeah. And so the significance of that is it became a school-based sport, which then triggered all the other schools in the Moore League, which is the Long Beach School District District League. So that was a very proud accomplishment. We started at a flagship school, where then it got moved on to the other schools there. So in doing so, I got offered to come to West Houston, to Westside High School, kind of build the same thing. And I just jumped at the opportunity because of several reasons, but it was just something that I'd be very attracted to. I very much believe the potential for growth in Texas is tremendous. Texas should be at the same level as California when it comes to lacrosse. Why it hasn't gotten there, or is not moving as much as California, there are a million cooks in the kitchen that could say why.
Right. Yeah. So there's a ton of ideas and opinions on that.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, there's definitely potential for growth here. With the amount of young kids here, the amount of diversity here. I mean, Houston, Austin, Dallas, come on, I mean, these are the biggest cities in the country, right?
Yeah.
So the long-term growth opportunity, I believe, is tremendous. And so that's what attracted me to come to Houston. And we're certainly achieving our goals. And it's not, it's certainly one of those marathons, right?
Right.
But we're certainly making success. And I think a lot of people in lacrosse want a program like Nation United to help drive that visibility of
Hmm.
lacrosse. Even if you're not, the point of Nation United isn't to compete with all the club teams out there and take players and all
Yeah.
that. That's not our space. Our space is to model and demonstrate excellence in diversity, right?
Right.
Our objective is, to put those players together and demonstrate it. And by doing so, even if you're not a player on Nation United, or even if you're not, involved, that visibility is still getting out there.
Hmm.
And players on other teams are at least absorbing that message just through social media and all the things that, you win a tournament, people are going to see it and read it, right?
Yeah.
And so that has been something that I believe has really helped with our collective efforts. We continue to build on this. Again, it's the visibility that we're achieving.
Yeah, absolutely. So and I think you mentioned this earlier, you got to Westside you said 4 years ago,
This is going to be the start of my fourth year.
start of your fourth year. So you moved to Houston specifically for a coaching gig then.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's very cool. That's
Yeah,
wonderful. And then
yeah.
so you get to Houston. When does the Nation United Texas start to take off then? What's the timeline on that origin?
I had been, so being from Virginia. One of the founders of Nation United is Coach Chaz Woodson from Hampton
Yeah.
University. And he grew up in the same high school sports league as I did
Okay.
in Virginia. He went to Norfolk Academy. I went to St. Christopher School, and they're all in the same league. And so we all, were in the same circles. I had started to work with Nation United Foundation when I got to Westside,
Okay.
and just knew that this was part of the big vision in the big picture. So the Nation United Foundation is more of their cause side, which works with addressing issues in racism.
Hmm.
They lead the We Stand initiative. They also, that part of the organization manages internships and job opportunities for our players, and then also placing our Nation United ambassadors as coaches for clinics or anything that a program may want to ask our coaches to do.
Right. Okay.
Again, to demonstrate diversity from the coaching side, right?
Hmm.
What I like about that is love the college players, right? So having Black and brown college play Division I or high level, Division I, Division II, Division III players
Hmm.
come and do a clinic, that's awesome. It doesn't have to be our clinic, or it doesn't have to be our clinic. We can, send our guys wherever they're requested. So we started doing that and started doing that program with West Houston Lacrosse. And that's how we started folding in Nation United into West Houston. Was, hey, let's start getting some of these college guys over. So in my first year, we did a West Houston summer camp, but powered by Nation United ambassadors.
Okay. Very
And
cool.
we had Eli Ensor from Ohio State come, Starlin Ardrey, who's now one of the main middies at Hofstra, and then some local Nation United ambassadors, came to coach,
Yeah.
and it was very successful. Based on that, last year we decided it was a good time to pull the trigger on a regional club team and program, which is what we did. We announced it last summer, had a great tryout. Then we did one tournament, the Best of Texas tournament here in Houston. We won that championship. Out of that, 7 of our players got named to the Showcase All-Star team,
Nice.
and 6 of those 7 are all now committed to Division I or Division II schools.
Nice.
So again, that and all minorities, right?
Right. Right. That's
So again, that is something that the carrot at the end of the stick, the visibility,
mhm.
the modeling of high performance and success. So that was the genesis, and then of Nation United here in Texas, and where we are now.
That's awesome. Well, and I know that, so obviously, we both know Kevon, and I know that he's had a blast working with you all, and, getting that experience of playing on a team of, like Bridge, where a lot of the kids look like him,
Hmm.
or share a lot of similarities and background. And so I know he enjoyed that experience. I'm trying to remember if we had another alum or former player. I can't remember if I don't think Malcolm ever played with you all. I think he might have been a different Nation United team where he jumped on for like a tournament. But we have a couple kids who are familiar
Yeah.
with you all and the program. What's the so what is there sort of not an end goal necessarily, but some short term goals you all are looking at, in terms of growth, in terms of numbers, more tournaments, anything like that?
We just had a talk about this, and we're still kind of having some internal discussions. It is clear that Nation United does not fit as a year-round club program.
Oh, okay,
Right?
gotcha.
That's not something that I think works for our brand, what we're doing, our objectives, etc.
Okay,
Um, we want to continue to do, one tournament, one or two tournaments in the winter, one or two tournaments in the summer. And what we really like, and what was really successful recently, was our training camp, which was an open experience that we brought high level guys in and built a lot of camaraderie. A nice overnight camp was something that these guys, I think, just really enjoyed. Spending the night in a dorm with other lacrosse players that look like you,
hmm,
that's a big deal.
absolutely,
And so that is something we will continue to do.
very cool.
Now, I will emphasize, I love the idea that we're doing these training opportunities. I, one discussion internally is, where's the market going? Whether it's the best or not for the players, right? But it seems to me the market is going more and more to more of these, tournaments and showcases, and the kids are going to a tournament or showcase every weekend,
Yeah.
and they're getting injured. You- What's the right medium between development, right? So, I mean, are you doing what you're supposed to play the best you can at that tournament,
Hmm.
or are you just playing games and games and games, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why we practice between games in the regular season, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we just played games, what are you improving on to show those college coaches, what's different about you, or what you do well, or what skills you do have. So that's just a comment about what we've experienced this past year.
Hmm.
But one to two tournaments in the fall, winter, one to two in the summer, and continue also being focused on our vision of spreading diversity in lacrosse.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can do that by trying to have a year-round program.
Hmm.
And you know what? Quite frankly, one of the factors is there's just not a whole lot of minorities playing lacrosse
Yeah.
in Texas, in general. But what is our goal? Do we create that market? You know, or what is our goal? And I shouldn't say do we. Perhaps it is creating that market,
Well, and
right?
are some of those goals and discussions, and are they with Nation United Texas? Are they dissimilar to Nation United as sort of the national brand? Because there's not like another sort of like local chapter of Nation United. It's just sort of Nation United as a whole, and then Nation United Texas. Is that right? There's not like a Nation United like Baltimore, is there?
No, no, no. So Nation United Texas is the first regional extension of Nation United.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Uh,
thought. I couldn't remember.
And I mean, we're part of Nation United.
Certainly. Yeah.
We are a corporate chapter.
Gotcha. Okay.
I work for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Certainly.
and our program works for them. While we plan and strategize everything together, Nation United Texas is the first model of a regional program.
Yeah.
Now, this goes back to what I was mentioning before about, are there minority lacrosse players out there, right? Quite frankly. One of the reasons why Nation United Texas was started was because, the national team would get inquiries to be, on the national team, and there would definitely be a handful or more that just didn't make the team.
Yeah.
Not to say that they weren't as good or could not compete on the team. You got to make a cut at some point, right?
Right.
We also wanted to give those guys a Nation United experience, right? So, yes, there are players that come from that pool, right? And that's from a national perspective or a national market.
Yeah. Okay.
In Texas alone, though, if you look at just the overall scope and the numbers, all right, the entire universe of lacrosse in Texas, as I just mentioned before, is smaller than California
Hmm.
and smaller than even a lot of leading states out there. Even though Texas is very large, the overall number of players in Texas is, is not staggering.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now, amongst that, how many of those players are minorities? And then let's take it to another level. How many of those minority players have had access to or the opportunities to get higher level coaching, training, etc.? Not to criticize at all what coaching and training they have had. We're just trying to piece it together, right?
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have even dads or anyone, getting programs going.
Hmm.
Right? But it's certainly not growing up in an environment like, Virginia or Maryland,
Yeah.
right? Or even Atlanta. Those are the factors that we really have been looking at this past year is, just like you were talking, what's the cross section,
Hmm.
right? And Texas is certainly the market that we wanted to do the first test and run and model as a regional program because of the nuances that I just mentioned.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And if we can make it successful here in a market like this, then we can grow in other areas,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
Replicate the model. But
And that was actually my next question is essentially Houston or Nation United Texas almost a pilot for other chapters, if you will, across the nation. I mean that sounds like a great idea, and hopefully you all provide that case study of
yeah,
success to do that.
like you said, that's a great idea, and we get inquiries from programs and
Oh, I
other.
imagine. Yeah.
You know, we certainly would love to do everything right. Um, it is very critical and important to do it right,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially this. You're calling it the right word. It's a pilot program,
Yeah.
and you got to get it right. And we would love to get it right here,
Hmm.
and then replicate it where it would be applicable and successful. The worst thing you want to do is overgrow too fast.
Yeah.
Right? And you can, even with your own organization, I'm sure you've experienced snafus here and there trying to do too much.
Hmm.
I mean, everyone does that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So we certainly don't want to do that on a macro scale, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
we want to minimize the risks here, take care of them, make sure it's executed right.
Hmm.
Um, and now here's another thing, as you'll see even in the college lacrosse market, you know, um, how many minority lacrosse coaches are out there, especially Black coaches? How many are out there?
Hmm.
So, those are the factors to consider.
Well, and as you all dig a little deeper into the coaching side, right? Representation in the coaching ranks, that's something that we've been talking a lot about with Bridge is, how do we have more coaches who look like their players, right? And we don't have, we're getting there. 11 of my 26 coaches this year were either alum or coaches of color. And so we are getting to something that, a reasonable percentage or ratio, and not that there's a hard number or goal, but it's been very helpful. And how can we expand that? And so we're trying to pull more alumni in, trying to pull parents in and things like that. And so that is a whole other very unique challenge. Diversity in coaches is certainly becoming now more obvious of a need as we pull more kids of color into the organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you guys are doing the same thing that we're doing. I mean, we brought on our college kids or college coaches to coach, and that was very successful this past summer. It's just also time, right?
Yeah.
These guys got to grow, graduate from college, right. But if there's at least a pipeline has been initiated.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
And that pipeline is only going to grow. And it's just a matter of the turnover, converting them. And here's the other thing, right? Coaching is not necessarily a lucrative profession, right? Okay. You either have to be a director or something, you have to be a teacher also.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I'm really trying to communicate to some of these guys now is, hey, we would love for you to be a coach, right? But you got to also do something else, right?
Yeah, right.
So here are the different career pathways that can allow you to do something that you love and really do something that you're passionate about, as well as using your marketing degree, or and you can use it with the program. So, for example, we had a great face-off coach, Ian Groom, who is at University of Hartford now. He's at Hampton University, and he grew up in Maryland. We had him come in as an intern, but his internship was a coaching / sports marketing internship.
Okay.
That's combined with availability to get school credit for it,
Mm-hmm.
or an independent study, and he knocked it out the park.
Yeah.
He came and coached. Kids loved him. Did a great job coaching. Brought a skill set that the face-off skill set is very much needed here,
Mm-hmm.
In Texas. So the kids loved him for that. And then while he was doing it, he saw how a team involves social media, storytelling, the marketing, getting the flyers out, all that. So even basic salesmanship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So these are skills that he learned, so that, hey, listen, by the time you graduate, and you want to coach, we've got a way for you also to generate income as a marketing coordinator. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it, at the future, and hopefully that will work.
That's huge. That's something so we have summer interns that we hire. We try to hire only alum, and you can kind of tell which of the interns are, I want to coach, I'm here for the instruction and the kids, but are there other things that are relevant to my degree, my academics,
Absolutely.
that would also benefit Bridge, that could also be part of the internship? And we've had to craft it a little bit, kind of case by case, but it is something that for those kids is very much desired. How can I be a part of Bridge in the coaching on-field aspect, but also I also really like you were talking earlier, the marketing side or the sales side or the operations side. Those are things that are equally as important. And for us being smaller organizations, I could always use some help in those arenas for sure.
Yeah. Even if it's just, getting the water coolers and
right. Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got to do the work, right?
I mean, I'll toss kids my phones and say, hey, get on Instagram and do some stories or grab some photos for me, because I got 100 other things I got to do. So it's nice to have that help. And as they get older and a little bit deeper in their degree or their profession, you can kind of get more of the sort of elevated benefits of their academic background. So that's one thing that we're also looking at too. So we might have to talk about that later offline, about how you're utilizing that utilizing that within Nation United, because that's heavy on our to-do list right now.
Yeah, I absolutely can share some things with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll tell you what, Mike, I'm gonna go. Let's go ahead and wrap up. I don't want to take up your whole day. It's a beautiful weekend. I appreciate you being here and hanging out.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate the invite, and of course, anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.